As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Okay. That's the hard part. Shabbat. Halakner, Shel, Shabbat.
Amen. I'm going to continue by reading 18 Shabbat blessings for peace in Israel and Palestine, Behil Eretz Abi. May this light embrace all who are suffering through war. May this light spread and reach towards the hostages and their families, wrapping them in a protective embrace. May this light illuminate paths of safety and shelter for the people of Gaza. May this light shatter barriers separating food and aid from innocent civilians. May this light open space for the people of Israel and of Palestine to process their grief and anxiety. May this light break open the barriers in our hearts. May this light soften anger and fear. May this light erase thoughts of revenge. May this light give us strength to stand up against extremists in power. May this light hold gently the traumas of our past and the traumas of our present. May all the people who call Israel and Palestine their home come together to grieve and to witness each other's pain. May we transform our grief into solidarity. May our solidarity pave the way for a shared future. May we nurture the divine spark in ourselves. May that divine spark shine out to include our families, friends, neighbors, and all who live on earth. May the divine light from before creation inspire us to choose life. May this light empower us to build the future we want to see. May this light guide us on the path toward healing and peace. Robin, I'd like to invite you up next to do Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav ve'atzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu b'chata v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon hinkotanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
All right, folks. We're going to turn in our prayer books to page 138 for Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, la la la, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem ultiferet, v'heliti la lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה, ומחר שבת תחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה. פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, לה לה לה. פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומיצאי מתוך ההפכה. רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלי כמלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, לה לה לה. פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי. על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה, ונגילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, לה לה לה. פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, לה לה לה. פני שבת נקבלה. All right, okay, folks, we're going to turn to page 636 for Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh, Yadadayav HaRachaman, Meshoch Avdecha, El Retzonecha. Yarutz Avdecha Kimo Hayal, Yishtachaveh El Mul HaTorecha, Yerablo Yedidutecha Minofet Suf Vechol Tam. Adonai Yanai Ziv Olam, Nafshi Cholat Avatecha. Ana'ila Rifanala, Meharod La Noam Zivecha, Az Tidchazek V'tidrapeh V'haitala Simchat Olam. Vatiki Yamuna Yanai Rachamecha V'chusana Habeina Uvecha. Ki zekama niksof niksaf lirot betiferet uzecha. Anaili chamdat libi husana ve'alti talam igalena yadai uvros chaviv alai et sukat shalomecha. Ta'ir eretz mikvotecha nagila v'nismecha bach maher ahuv kiva moed v'choneinu ki me'olam. Yada-dai-dai-dai-dai, yada-dai-dai-dai-dai, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da. All right, folks. We're going to turn back now to page 140 for Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov Lehodot LaAdonai, Ulzamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Ulzamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Lehagid Baboker Chastecha, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שמחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידך רנן, בגודלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. And finally, we'll turn to page 142 for Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're going to turn forward now to page 145, and let's read together. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence. Page 146. Please rise with me if you're able and comfortable doing so for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. All right, folks, please have a seat. And we're going to turn to page 149, and once again, let's read together in English. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. All right, page 150. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadata, Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu v'kumeinu, Nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, v'orech yameinu, uvahem negeh yomam v'lala, v'ahavatcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. All right. Please rise if you feel able and comfortable doing so as we turn to page 152 for the opening of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kavod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. All right, please feel free to have a seat, and we'll continue on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol miodecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech, uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uv'yisharecha. Le'mahan tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'yitem kadoshim le'loechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. We'll turn now to page 157, and let's read together. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zeli anu ve'amru, Adonai imloch leolam voed. Ve'nemar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, Uge'alom yad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Let's turn to 161, and we'll read. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, aporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. All right. We're going to turn now to page 162. Yismechu ve'malchutcha shomrei Shabbat ve'korei oneg hamekadeshei shvi kulam yisbehu ve'yitangu mituvecha Yismechu ve'malchutcha shomrei Shabbat ve'korei oneg hamekadeshei shvi kulam yisbehu ve'yitangu mituvecha. All right. We're going to turn now to page 164 for the beginning of the Amidah, and I'd like to invite you once again to rise if you're able and comfortable doing so. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 166. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, u'mevii geula livnei b'neihem, leman shemo b'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye metim ata rav lehoshia, mashiv haruach umorid hagashem, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye metim berachamim rabim, sehomech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, mikamocha bal gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah l'hachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim. All right, folks, feel free to have a seat if you like. We're going to turn now to page 171, where we'll read again together. Days pass, and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Let's continue on page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Page 174. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'yamcha Yisrael, utfilatam b'ahava tekabel, utehil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. El karov lechol korav, panei vadecha, v'chonenu shefoch ruchacha aleinu. V'techezen einenu b'shuvcha letzion berachamim, Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shchinato litzion. All right, so for the Hoda'ah blessing, the blessing of Thanksgiving, we're going to turn to page 176. And like we do, we're going to give folks a chance to share something they're feeling grateful for this week. So we'll begin by reading together in English, and then if you'd like to share something, raise your hand, and we'll get the microphone around to you in a moment. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks.
I am very thankful that last night around 5 o'clock, when I was ready to leave with a friend to go to dinner, I go out to my car and find the right rear tire flat as a pancake. So I immediately go in. First thing I do is call Goodyear, who I bought the tires from, because they usually close around 6, to let them know I am calling a tow truck. I am going to bring my car over, and you can take a look at it and hopefully change it with my spare. So I then called the tow truck. He finally came. We got to Goodyear a few minutes after 6, which is when they usually close, and they kept 2 people there just to put on the tire, and we were back on the road.
Great to hear. Thanks, Bruce.
I went with a bunch of groups to Albany on Monday, I think it was. We were, it was the first day of session of the state legislature, and we were there to push for the New York for All Act. And it was the first time I'd been in the state legislature. I've been in other buildings there in Albany. But I was very moved by the fact that we could still, 200 of us, stand in the lobby and have speakers and, right in the middle of, people, legislators and senators walking back and forth, and that we were still allowed to stand there and ask for, justice. And that, I'm thankful for that we could still do that in New York State.
Thank you.
I just received an email before I came that I glanced at from the World Zionist Congress, which, if you remember, I was pushing us all to vote for the reform slate for that. And glancing at it, I read the resolutions that they had that had passed, and I can't repeat them now from one reading in 3 minutes, but it looks like we did very, very well, that they're the couple that stick in my head is a fair draft, so that all citizens are subject to the draft, not just everybody but the Orthodox, that they did a resolution to stop settlement in Gaza, that they did a resolution to support all religious groups, including the Reform. And that's all I can give you off the top of my head. But there were 6 or 8, and the ones that I read were all the ones that we would have wanted. And that gave me a sigh of relief. At least something's going right.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, folks, let's read together down at the bottom. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha, ochana elehodot. All right, and finally, we'll turn to page 179 and read together. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. All right, folks, we're going to take a moment for our own personal prayers and reflections. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Israel ve'al yoshvei tevel ve'imeru amen. All right, we're going to turn forward now to page 371 for Misha Berach Lacholim, our prayer for healing. This week we're praying for Raphael Aliyeti, Kathleen Al-Jalad, David Ben Esther, Terry Bennett, Charles Berman, Thomas Brophy, Tom Brown, Louis Calcitera, Tegan Christofferson, Monica Dixon Damon, Betty Dorr, Llewellyn Egan, Lee Foreman, Sandy Foreman, Lauren Furman, Robin Haas, Rosemary Hazen, Sheila Hickok, Tom Kaloa, Holly Levine, Helen Lewis, Lori Marcello, Mike Martinez, Jim Mason, Leah Mead, John Muller, Rowan Nocholino, Jeremy Orden, Manny Orden, Robin Orden, Grayson Porter, Evelyn Rybel, Ken Roberts, Jim Rosenstein, Sherry Schwartz, Shmuel Emmett Ruvain Mibet Avraham Visara, Elvin Ben Shmuel Emmett Ruvain, Jennifer Stile, Rabbi Lance Sussman, Liz Sussman, Timothy Swindell, Rhonda Waxman, Elena Witter, Phyllis Young, Eugenia Zaroli, and Yeager Zopp. And if you'd like to add anyone's name to our healing prayers this evening, just raise your hand.
Thank you. A.J. Feldman and Elijah Pinero Zucker.
Thank you. Bernard Bergman. Anybody else? Mi shebeirach avotenu mekor habracha laimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Praying for a refuah shlema, a complete and speedy recovery to all those we're holding in our hearts this evening. All right, folks, we're going to stop the screen share here for a few moments to share a couple words of Torah with you tonight. This week we're on Parashat Va'era, which is the second parsha in the book of Exodus. And in the part of the Exodus narrative that deals with the plagues that are inflicted upon Egypt, the Torah tends to vacillate back and forth between two different ways of describing Pharaoh's state of mind whenever, after the plague has been lifted, he refuses to follow through with his promise to let the Israelites go and sacrifice to God. At some times in the text, it says, Vayechazak libo, that Pharaoh's heart grew stronger. And at other times it says, Vechachbed libo, that his heart grew heavy. Both verbs are describing the same change of heart that prompts Pharaoh to pull back from what he agreed to do. But the connotations are quite different. As I said, chazak carries the meaning of strength. We sometimes, when we are finished reading a particular book of Torah, right, when we read the Torah readings throughout the year, when we come to the end of the Torah book, we say, chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, right, which is a way of saying that we're asking for strength, both for the person who's reading the Torah and for those of us who are in the congregation listening. So when it says vayechazak, when that this is the verb that it uses to describe Pharaoh, the meaning it carries is as if Pharaoh had been weak to agree to Moses' demands. And only now he's going back and refusing them, and only now is he regaining his power, his chazakah. But kaved signifies something different. Kaved signifies heaviness, the heaviness of inertia that weighs a person down and makes it impossible to move. It's noteworthy that this is the same language that Moses uses with God when he's talking about the difficulty he has speaking. He says that his tongue is kaved, heavy. So the implication here is not one of power, but one of weakness, an inability to act like one would wish. Pharaoh's actions in this story are characterized by harshness, by a desire to oppress and to subjugate. And no doubt he believes, as so many people have believed throughout history, that the effort to dominate others is a show of strength. And to be certain, such acts are generally intended to create the appearance of strength. But the Torah's language suggests that, in this case at least, the appearance of strength belies an essential weakness in those who believe that they have to push other people around, that they have to control others in order to seem strong. And the truth is that this sort of strength, the kind of strength that seeks to exercise power over others through cruelty and oppression, ends up being a trap, not a source of empowerment. Pharaoh probably, in his own internal monologue, justifies the cruelty to himself, that it's necessary, that it's making him or his people stronger, putting them in a better place. But in fact, he's not strong in this story. He's stuck. And stuck is the opposite of strong. Strength is the ability to decide what you're going to do. Strength is the power to make things better for yourself or the people that you care about. Strength isn't being stuck so firmly in one particular course of action that even if it's harming you, you're not able to give it up. That's not chazak. That's not strong. It's kaved. It's heavy. It's being weighed down by the inertia of our own choices, by the inertia of our own mistaken beliefs, by the inertia of our own need to feel and to look strong. Pharaoh's apparently unable to stop himself from doubling down again and again and again. And what we see throughout the story here in Exodus is that need, that compulsion to double down, is hurting Pharaoh, and it's hurting his people. At the very beginning of the story, we see Israel suffering under the Egyptians' hands. But very quickly, the balance of that story turns around. And it's really mostly about the Egyptians suffering at the hands of God to some extent, but really suffering at the hands of their own ruler who can't give up his own power trip. He may be successful. He may be showing some kind of power that he has to hurt the people that he wants to hurt. But he certainly isn't showing the power to help himself, and he certainly isn't displaying the power to help his people. If he had that kind of power, then he would be changing his tune. He would be doing what his people need him to do. When we look around at our world today, we see no shortage of people who are trapped in that same trap. People who are drawn in by the alluring mystique of strength and who quickly become stuck, unable to conceive of any way to impact the world around them other than causing pain and misery to others. And so what I want to reflect on tonight is the idea of strength. About when are we showing strength, true strength, and when are we merely showing heaviness? About what sort of power is desirable to have, and what sort of power is a weight that ends up crushing us down into the ground and turning us into something that's not even able to help ourselves, let alone the people that we care about. What's the nature of the power that we want? And how is it that people get trapped in this position of seeking power, seeking strength, but only in the end finding heaviness? And what do we make of Pharaoh's heart? Pharaoh's heart, which keeps reverting back to this state, which keeps getting stuck on this same set of ideas to his own detriment and to the detriment of his own people. All right, time for comments. Give us 1 sec, folks. New tech support. I don't suppose we got a spare, do we? All right, just give us 1 sec. If there's anyone on Zoom who wants to speak, we can hear you much more easily than you can hear us. So feel free to volunteer if you've got something to say on Zoom. All right, we good? Yes. All right, I think Rabbi Rachel had a hand up here.
I think it's very easy to get stuck simply because it's hard to admit if you've made a mistake and to have to look and change things. I think it's actual real thing of strength if you can say, wait a minute, I was wrong, or my ideas about this were wrong, and do what you need to do to make that right. But it's not an easy thing to do. It's much easier in some ways to be there where it's just, well, I have to be right, because otherwise sometimes that threatens our whole way the way that we look at everything in our world. If we're wrong about this, then maybe we're wrong about something else. Or if we did something and we figure that, how can I ever say that what I did was wrong? You have to look at it, and it's not easy because we're supposed to try to always be right. We're supposed to always try to be perfect, and we can't be that way.
Thank you. Be my guest.
Just with the descriptions of Pharaoh's heart as strong and heavy, it sounds like the description of an opponent, that the heart is opposing his will. Kind of like a wrestler that you can't win against. Yeah.
That maybe his heart is something that he's wrestling with, being overpowered by. It's a good point. I like that perspective.
Okay, so while you're reading this, I'm thinking about Yom Kippur, where we are asked to look at our own selves. And I think that when you look at yourself, it's very difficult to acknowledge to yourself the things that are not right or going right for you or that you do to other people. And I think that that's a good exercise, even though it's very difficult, because it allows you to then maybe, if you have strength, or gain strength each year as you deal with that, to gain strength to change yourself for the better.
Thank you. John.
There was an article that I was told about. I did not read the article, but it was about I believe it was 6 stages of emotional and moral development that humans go through, starting with very young children who simply follow the directions, the demands of parents for the most part. Stage 1, stage 6 being a humanistic enlightenment, where you are thinking about the greater good and how you can participate in increasing the greater good. So there's the beginning and the end. Stage 2 is what's in it for me. And as you were talking about this dilemma, or the 2 different ways that Pharaoh may be having his problem, I started thinking about the movie 10 Commandments. At one point, Yul Brynner, Pharaoh, says, the slaves are mine, the buildings are mine, the cities are mine, the people are mine, the grain is mine, everything is mine. What's in it for me? If he were to give up and let the people go, I'm giving away my stuff. This is not what that's not what I'm all about. I got to keep my stuff. Sadly, I think we have a lot of political leadership that are also stuck at stage 2, what's in it for me, and they don't even begin to think about climbing up towards 3, 4, 5, and 6 in their moral and ethical development.
Thank you.
I think I was also thinking about things where, if you're in a position of authority, that if you give in to somebody else and you're not secure about your position of authority, that you feel that by admitting you're wrong, your authority could be questioned. And I'm also remembering as when I've dealt with people like that, sometimes I've been that person, sometimes I've been on the other end where I end up just trying to make a suggestion for that person to make it look like it's their idea.
Yeah.
Because if it's not their idea, then they feel threatened.
Thank you. I think that's everyone who had a hand up. So thank you, everyone, for your comments. Really interesting discussion tonight. But let's wrap it up and turn back into our books. And we're going to turn forward now to page 587. Can I get someone to volunteer to come up and open the Ark for us for Elenu tonight? Anyone want to? Okay, Rabbi Rachel, come on up. All right, please rise if you're able and comfortable doing so. Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, l'keit gdula liyotzeh b'reshit, shehu sam chelkeinu liyachad et shemo, v'gor aleinu lamlich malchuto, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachalim u'modim, livnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. All right, feel free to have a seat. And we're continuing on page 591. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu hige Adonai echad u'shemo echad. All right, the Mourner's Kaddish is located on page 598. And this evening we are mourning the deaths of Richard Weiss and Milton Stein. And we are also remembering the yahrzeits of Stephen Major, Abraham Auerbach, Judy Epstein, Morris Schifrin, Alfredo Latessa, Tema Strasberg, Nettie Glick-Levine, Eugene Rembetsky, Gail Weinberg, Bessie Bernstein, Mark Gutman, Stanley T. Lesser, Phyllis Tondlich, Dave Donaldson, and Lori Schleisner. Please rise if you are able and comfortable doing so for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlik malchuteh, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivarach le'elam ul'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. May their memories be for a blessing. All right, folks, feel free to have a seat. I'm going to just give a couple of quick announcements. We don't have a huge amount coming up in the very immediate near term, tomorrow morning, of course, we've got Torah study at 9:15, followed by prayers at 10:30. The Social Action Committee meeting is on Tuesday, January 20th. That's at 7 p.m. So come on by if you can for that. Wednesday evening, as usual, we've got evening prayers at 5:30, followed by adult ed at 6. As I've been mentioning the last couple of weeks, we've shifted to a new topic in the adult ed class. We're focusing right now on the topic of Jewish prayer. So we've spent a couple of weeks doing kind of a bit of an introduction to the general ideas and concepts of Jewish prayer. We're also going to be focusing on the specific content of various Jewish prayer services, what's in the prayers, what are the themes of the prayers, and also talking a little bit about the spiritual practice of prayer itself. Having access to a copy of Mishkan Tefillah, our prayer book, is helpful, but not absolutely necessary. And for any other readings that we're doing, I'll be providing readings as usual via email, so get signed up for the emails if you're not getting them. We do have quite a number of special Shabbatot and holiday celebrations coming up in the next 3 months or so. I'm really going to focus on talking about the next one, right? Which is Tu B'Shvat, which occurs the very beginning of February. So in a couple of weeks from now. Just like last year, we're going to be doing a Tu B'Shvat Seder, where we'll eat some fruit of different kinds and sort of engage in this sort of mystical kind of connection with a mitzvah of protecting our environment. But we're also doing something extra this year, which is we're going to be doing dinner immediately before the Seder starts, so people can, come and have a meal, and then they don't have to worry about like what time they go home. So the whole shebanga will start at 5 p.m. There will be pizza and salad provided through a generous donation from the Temple Sisterhood, and then immediately following that, we'll be doing a Tu B'Shvat Seder, pretty similar to the one we did last year, so encourage people to come to that. We've also got Scouting Shabbat coming up. We've got Reproductive Rights Shabbat, Repro Shabbat coming up. We've got Refugee Shabbat coming up, right? And a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Purim's not too far over the horizon itself. So as usual, for all of that stuff, keep an eye out on the weekly emails that we send out, and also the Neirot newsletter that we send out by email as well if you're on the mailing list. We're going to finish up on page 620, oops, sorry, yes?
I just want to remind everyone that next Sunday will be Rabbi Rachel's annual book talk.
Good, yeah.
So if you haven't RSVP'd, please.
All right, so what Phyllis is saying, because she's not on the mic, is reminding us that Rabbi Rachel's book talk is next Sunday. So Sunday a week from this Sunday, right? And if you want to come, to please RSVP for that. So definitely keep your eye out for that one as well. And please phone or email into the temple to RSVP if you're coming. Thanks. All right, we're going to finish up on page 625 with the Don Olam, and then we'll be heading over into the social hall for Oneg. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'aharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'u Haya Ve'u Hove Ve'u Yeh B'tifara Ve'u Echad Ve'en Sheni Lehamshilo Lehachbira B'li Reshit B'li Taklit V'lo Ha'oz Ve'hamisra Ve'hu Eli V'chai Goali V'tzur Chavli B'yetzara Ve'u Nisi Umanos Li Menat Kosi Be'yom Ekra Be'yado Afkid Ruki Ve'yet Ishan Ve'ayira Ve'im Ruchi Givi Adonai li velo ira. Amotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, folks. Thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
How's
And
everyone
good
doing?
night.